there's been a bit of a hubbub over a comment via the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer. And I want to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to have a little bit of speculation, but also a little bit of news that you may enjoy on this one. So the comment was that AEW will be signing someone bigger than Andrade. Now, if we're talking about people who are free agents at the moment, who are bigger than Andrade, the list is actually not that long. It's genuinely not. A lot of people have already signed elsewhere. A lot of people have made their choice as to which company to go to. We've seen Chelsea Green start at Ring of Honor, for example, and I wouldn't put her above Andrade, for example. In fact, now that we know that Aleister Black, or Malakai Black as he is already in AEW, there are very few people this could possibly refer to. Now, overtures have been made towards Paige, but the WWE seem to be just extending her contract at every opportunity, keeping her firmly locked in. Eleanor says people think it will be Daniel Bryan. That's certainly something that's been speculated about. Last I heard it was indeed WWE who are in pole position for Daniel Bryan's contract. Matt says actually that comment it was from Tony Khan, not Dave Meltzer. He was just quoting TK. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Matt. I appreciate that. It's always good to have that little correction. And in fact, that goes perfectly into what happens next, because Tony Khan is very literal. Very literal. Everything he says contains hints. The favourite to be this bigger than Andrade name has to be Braun Strowman. It has to be. And I can say with certainty that Braun Strowman has been in contact with AEW. I don't know if there's been anything offered, because I don't have anything from AEW's side. But I do know that Braun Strowman has been in contact with AEW. Now, I've said a while back when the releases first happened, I don't think Braun Strowman's necessarily an AEW guy, but that doesn't mean that AEW can't branch out in that regard. And I think a Braun Strowman versus Lance Archer feud could be a lot of fun. There's a number of other people it could work with. There is a number of big people in AEW at the moment. And I have said Mark Henry, Paul White, they have been doing everything they can to represent the interests of Braun Strowman to get him into the company. So it's not a case of him doing all the work himself. Braun Strowman isn't necessarily pounding at the door of AEW, but people are pounding on that door for him. And contact has been made. So when you talk about someone bigger than Andrade, the favourite has to be Braun Strowman. Now I'm seeing in the chat a number of names. Eleanor naturally has said Daniel Bryan. Michael says I really don't care to see Braun in AEW. I get where you're coming from. I do get what you're saying. Matt says only two names in the US comes to my mind is Bryan and Punk, but also it could be someone from New Japan. Here's the thing. You say the only two names that come to mind are Bryan and Punk. You've skipped over Braun there. He's certainly bigger than Andrade. And that's the thing. AEW are very good at hyping up and hyping up and hyping up. And in that regard, they kind of have a habit of over-promising and under-delivering. But then they do legacy marketing so it looks in the future like they promised something incredible and you've got something incredible. That's sort of what they've been able to do at times. CM Punk has no interest in returning to wrestling. If that's changed, that's changed. But for years, I've been asked the same question. When's CM Punk back? He doesn't want to come back. Literally, he is constantly pricing himself out of a return to the WWE because WWE want him back. Daniel Bryan, I think it's possible but very unlikely. The WWE do still have an ongoing contract negotiation with him. When it comes to New Japan, I don't think there's that much interest in going to AEW for their big stars like the Jay Whites. I don't think there's any real interest in that regard either. So what I'm essentially saying is keep an eye on the horizon because I believe this refers to Braun Strowman. Thought I'd cap it there and then cut out the part where I drink for the video. That could be pretty cool. Let's catch up. Martin says, I wonder if AEW is interested in any WWE women that got released. It would help that division. There was interest in a number of them, but I suspect the women will be spreading out, whereas most of the men will go to AEW. Punk said he's open to being in the WWE video game. That's usually how WWE gets people back. Yeah, and he priced himself out of it. You got to remember both sides here. That's the habit of CM Punk. I'm interested in this WWE project. WWE Chancellor. Okay, how much will it be? Okay, well, it'll be 50 grand. Okay, we'll pay you 50 grand. Then it'll be 60 grand. Okay, we'll pay it 75 grand. That's what happens here. He doesn't want to do it. He just wants to make it look like the WWE don't want to do it. Unpopular review suggests the only bigger name to AEW's fanbase other than Daniel Bryan has to be Danhausen. Danhausen's not a bad shout. I think there's a lot of people who won't know who he is, I've got to be completely honest, but he's certainly making a very strong name for himself.